Hello, this is Antichrist 9/16/72, and this video is titled "The Down Low on the Down Low." First off, I'd like to explain. I mean, if you know what the down low is, basically, um, homosexual black males who are having sex with men and women. Um, I feel like I need to explain, you know, who I am and my interest in this. First off, I'm not gay, but like a lot of well, not like a lot of gays, but like every gay on the planet or homosexual person has family. And one of my family members happens to be gay, my little brother. And so that's really kind of what piqued my interest into, their lifestyles and what, what he's going through, and to try to gain a better understanding of, of some of its dangers, as is, and some of the things that their struggles as well. um, when I found out that my brother was gay, I mean, it was definitely no real shock, but he officially came out probably now about 18 years ago. And when I first heard it, I was a little bit in denial. Not so much the fact that he was gay, because it was very consistent with our childhood, even though I didn't really know. I just thought he was happened to be a sort of a feminine male. And when he came out, I assumed that, okay, he's gay, so maybe he's like, the man in the relationship. And that made it something that was a little bit more tolerable, something that was more easily dealt with. And then later on, as time went on, I was confronted with the fact that that's probably not likely the case. And, you know, I look back on my childhood, and there were always homosexuals. I mean, they were always around. Some open, some not. So I mean, they were always there. They were always a part of my life, especially being the sibling of someone who was homosexual. One of the things I noticed with when I was hanging out with my brother, that there were other um, gay men, but none of them dated each other, and I found that very odd. And so I kind of remember asking him, "Well, how come you're not going with any of these guys?" And he kind of looked at me, kind of, sort of odd, like, well, I don't even know how he put it, but really, we don't have anything in common. None of us are interested in each other. And that kind of opened up a whole, I don't know, a whole um, series of questions, trying to understand, well, if you all are not dating each other, who are you dating, and where do these men come from? And then I started to learn things that a lot of us heterosexuals don't understand about the gay community, at least with gay males. And I think that will definitely need to be explained before I can go any further. It appears that with gay men, you have basically two types. You have those that play the feminine role. They act as though they're the women. For lack of a better word, they're the ones being penetrated. And then you have the males that go with them, who could be or are often traditional males. They play the male role. They don't get penetrated, and they could be, as masculine as any man you could imagine. I mean, they hunt, they play sports. I mean, your best friend could be playing this role, and you would never even know it. And you're kind of like you're scratching your head, and you're like, well, that's really odd, because I never knew that. But it led to other questions, and particularly questions about the down low, which is what I'm going to try to get into now. I apologize if this video rambles, because I wasn't really very well prepared, but I'm trying to do my best. Um, the down low is basically, at least the way it seems to be perceived, is that you have a lot of these men out there, black men, who are pretending to be heterosexual when in fact they are homosexual. So what they're doing is they're having relationships on one side that is the public side. You know, they have wives, they have children, and this is the side that everyone knows. And at night, or sneaking or creeping, however you want to look at it, they're actually with other men. Now it is assumed that these men are actually homosexual men masquerading as heterosexuals, but they do seem to have some traits in common. These men are probably more often the masculine, for lack of a better description, the masculine members of these couplings. They don't get penetrated. I don't really know how else to put it. But you know, having a family member who's living this lifestyle, you get worried with things like AIDS and other such things, because you know what he expressed to me is the reason why he didn't date his other friends is because they were all basically the females. They were the feminine ones, and they weren't attracted or interested in each other. Now these guys, the feminine ones, seem to be strictly uh, homosexual. A lot of them are out, or if they're not, I mean, sometimes they're only really fooling themselves, but they are usually, at least by the time that they're adults, it's usually suspected that they probably are homosexual. And you know, I was talking to my brother about this issue, and I said, "Well, did you ever think about this? I mean, what if these men that you're dating are actually bisexuals?" And I mean, he just flipped. Everything that I've ever heard about homosexuals, everything negative I've ever heard about homosexuals, you know, that they don't understand, you know, they're confused, you know, all of these things. I mean, was the same thing he was saying about bisexuals. You know, it's a myth, it doesn't exist, you know, it's not real. And I'm thinking, you know, that doesn't really make sense, because I would imagine that these men are probably living on one side more traditional heterosexual lives. Like I said, they have families. You know what I mean by families? They have wives or girlfriends, children. This is their more public side. But if they're actually bisexuals, which means that they can't acknowledge to either the the heterosexual community or the homosexual community, because of the outrage that he was expressing to me. And you can only you know, magnify that times 10 if a wife finds out that her husband is actually homosexual. So they have to kind of walk a very thin line. But the problem is that they're actually lying to both groups. They're telling, you know, their lovers that they're in a monogamous relationship, which means these relationships are less likely to be to use contraception, and particularly condoms. And you have these men who are basically kind of, you know, jumping the fence. You know, one minute they're with this group, one minute they're with that group, and that really does pose a danger to both the heterosexual community and the homosexual community, if the assumption that I put forth is correct. I think I'm going to do a part 2 to this video, so look forward to it. I definitely welcome your thoughts and opinions on this issue, and leave your comments. Thank you. Bye.